One, two. Hey, YouTube, we're getting ready to rock and roll.
And here we go.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is
Not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time.
I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Did you think no one was watching?
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
your mission.
Suppose we go where no man has gone before. To reclaim the American dream,
To be given the right of human beings to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
you've certainly come to the right place.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Wednesday, July 29th, 2015. And once again, I find it necessary to give a disclaimer at the top of the hour. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my very best not to lose my cool. That's one of it's a very challenging thing to not do when you consider the reality of what's happening around us. I vacillate between dealing with race issues and trying to avoid race issues. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Sometimes I do my best to not deal with race issues because it's real. It's real life, and it's happening around us every day, all day. And for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm talking about Sam Dubose, just another name in the litany of names of African Americans that are killed by the police, unarmed African Americans that are killed by the police. And the list of names of African American men and women who die in police custody, that list grows and grows. I believe 5 have died since Sandra Bland. And yesterday they released some additional footage of Sandra Bland, and I'm going to get to that and deal with that. And just all the other things. But you know what? It's you ever deal with some things where you just like it always brings out a side of you that you just, and here's the thing. I'm not afraid of anyone calling me an angry black man. That I'm not afraid of. I own that. Yes, I am a black man, and yes, I have plenty to be angry about just across the board. So that's not it. It's just the fact that if I dealt with racism and race in the way that it should be dealt with, I would have to talk about it every day, 5 days a week, for 3 to 6 hours a day. That's how ubiquitous systemic racism is in the United States of America. But not only that, that's not the thing that bothers me the most. Let me tell you what bothers me the most. What bothers me the most is the denial. We live in a country where an entire segment of people believe that there's more of a war on Christmas than there is racism in the United States. If you watch Fox News, you will see that from the end of October, from Halloween through the New Year, they are lamenting a fictional war on Christmas. They put up alerts. They use war terminology. They feed into the Christian persecution complex. And you would believe, if all you watched was Fox News, you would believe that we live in a nation where white people are oppressed, Christians are oppressed, Christmas is under attack, and black people have it made in the shade. All the while, we see a list of names growing so long that we can't even keep up with them all. I cannot name just this year all the people that have been killed by the police. Now, I address that from my perspective as a Black person, but the reality of it is if you don't address it in the Black community, it's going to creep into every community. Police brutality is not only a race problem. We do feel the brunt of it in the Black community. We feel the abuse in the Black community. Stop and frisk is in the Black community, prevalently so. I mean, racial profiling, that is the Black and brown communities. That's the problems that we face on a regular basis. Not just police racial profiling, just walking in my neighborhood. You know, going jogging some mornings, which I haven't done in a while, and I'm going to get back on it. I just started again today, right? So, you know, give that disclaimer before, you know, the trolls come out. But just going jogging in my neighborhood, I have to be cognizant of running with a hoodie on, because I need to be safe and make sure that people don't mistake me for a robber. So if I dealt with it on an every single day basis, man, it would be too much. But I have to deal with it today. I'm Sam Dubose, 43-year-old, killed by University of Cincinnati police for what they say. They always say the same thing: resisting arrest and assaulting a police officer. Oh, and don't forget, he went for my gun. You know, it's like it's like talking points from the Republican Party. You just get 3 talking points and they're going to believe it. Oh, he resisted arrest. He assaulted a police officer and he went for my gun. I had to kill him. But in this case, Sam Dubose, his family is letting us know that he suffered from a physical illness that made him frail and weak, and therefore almost impossible for him to have assaulted anyone, let alone a police officer, to get into a physical confrontation with anyone, let alone a police officer. And since the shooting, they have refused to release the body cam footage and the dash cam footage. They've refused to release it. And one of the Hamilton County prosecutor, Joe Dieter, he stated that he would only release it if the Supreme Court says the Supreme Court orders him to, and he says he doubts that will happen. Well, it looks like it's getting ready to happen. It's getting ready to be released because multiple media outlets, they've done some good for a change. They've sued the county underneath the Freedom of Information Act, and they are going to have to release the dash cam and the body cam footage of the shooting involving Samuel Dubose. Here's the thing: the police chief has already seen the footage, and he has declared that it is not good. And when you see it, it's going to be obvious. And what they are doing now is they are preparing for all eventualities in Cincinnati. They are preparing for, basically, they are preparing for potential riots because the video is that bad. This is coming from the police chief. The city manager hasn't seen the video, but he stated that has had a detailed description of what happened in the video. And so now they are preparing with all of their city partners. They're preparing with all of the church leaders to do what they can. And here's the thing: they said to avoid, and I forgot completely, so many things happen in this country that you cannot keep up and keep track of them all. They said that they want to avoid what happened in 2001 in Cincinnati. And I was like, what happened? I can't even remember what happened in 2001. But that was another incident where the police killed an unarmed Black man, and the evidence from it was so damning that it erupted the city into the biggest protests and riots, rather not protests, but riots since 1992, since the LA riots. And so now they're gearing up. The Homeland Security is getting involved, all because this video is supposedly that damning. At this point, anyone who cannot see, and when I say systemic, I'm saying it from 2 different ways, from 2 different approaches, and I may not have the precise definition, right? So somebody will correct me. But systemic racism is when the structure of our system, when the political, economic, and justice, the judicial structure of our nation is biased and causes disproportionate outcomes against a segment of society. That is systemic racism. It is not someone calling someone else the N-word. It is not someone being just prejudiced. It's not a one-on-one interaction. It is structural. But if you cannot see the manner in which the system is biased against minorities, people of color, women of color, Black people, Hispanics, then you don't want to see it. You don't want to see it. Sandra Bland is the archetype example of how this system is broken. The fact that that police officer felt that he had the right to reach into her car and pull her out because he did not like her tone. And one thing Bernie Sanders pointed out, which I'm glad he's saying it exactly like this. I'm glad he's saying it in no uncertain terms, no equivocal. He is saying it straight out. He's saying that the odds of this happening to a middle-aged white woman are minuscule. He said that this would not have happened to a middle-aged white woman. And he's right about that, because you can see plenty of evidence. And I didn't have time to put it all together because I've been working on my research paper for my doctoral program. I'm just writing articles for Pathos that's going to be released today. But I want to put together a compilation of videos that shows police reaction to belligerent white people, and then compare it to police reactions to Black people who are acquiescing, who are falling in line and doing what they're told, or they just are irritated. It's like you can't even be irritated. You can be surrendering. There's a video out of New Jersey where the guy, or actually, no, it's probably New Hampshire. It's further north than New Jersey, New Hampshire, where the guy was getting on the ground surrendering. And that wasn't enough. The police officer had to kick him in the face. Recent video just came out from New York where a gentleman he was accused of stealing pizza, not robbing the store, not robbing a bank, not assaulting someone. He was accused of stealing pizza. The police rush in. He puts his hands up. That's not enough. The officers see his hands up, and then another officer comes in and gives him a black eye and knocks him out, knocks him down on the counter, and then arrests him. Not, my friends, I'm not talking about someone who had a gun. I'm not talking about someone who was threatening to kill the clerk. I'm talking about someone who was accused of stealing pizza, had his hands up, and that was not enough. The police came in and assaulted him, hit him in the face, closed up his right eye, his left eye rather. And if you don't see it, you just don't want to see it. If you don't see it, one of two things: it either pains you too much to admit that you've been wrong about systemic racism and police brutality in communities of color, because sometimes you bought into something for so long that you become vested and you can't back away from it. You're so vested in this idea of Black criminality that you cannot possibly see any wrongdoing on by the hands of cops towards Black people. But what I'm trying to tell every person listening, whether you're Black or white, police brutality in communities of color will not stay in communities of color. It will filter out and go into every single community. And then what are you going to do when the police are treating young white teenage girls the way they treat young Black men? Because if you think that the arrogance and the ego and the pompousness and the egomaniacal nature of some of these police officers is going to remain in Black communities, then you're sadly mistaken. You are sadly mistaken, because a Napoleon complex filled cop will get his bricks off by assaulting a black person just as much as you would assaulting anyone else. So by you not addressing it, by you not wanting to address it in communities of color, you are opening yourself up to the fury of these same bastards in your community. And we've seen it, right? I'm not just talking about it. We've seen last year alone, I believe I haven't heard of any reports like this where they were killing teenage white girls. But last year, two, I think one was half Hispanic and half white. The other one was white. Police officers killed them, unarmed. And you know what? There's something that's not being said with regard to all of these killings that came out with Sandra Bland. Now, I don't know the full story of Sam Dubose, but we're going to get it. And we're going to see this video. And when that video comes out, apparently it's so bad they have the Homeland Security involved in it. So the video's not out, but it's supposed to be out sometime this week. And we'll see, from what I hear, from what some sources are saying, that the beating was so, it was so one-sided that Sam was not resisting, that he was, for all intents and purposes, killed, just murdered. And the grand jury is now involved, and they're looking to see whether or not they're going to bring charges against the police officer. But in the meantime, there's footage that has to be released. But the case has not been ever clearer with regard to the attitude and the disposition towards people of color, one, but then also towards people in general who refuse to acquiesce to the egomaniacal demands of petty police officers with big egos. Now, I want to show you, or actually I'm going to read it for the radio audience, and I'm going to show you a post by a random person on Facebook, right? But I want you to listen, and I want you to read the verbiage and how she addressed Sandra Bland. And then I want you to imagine wrapping all of that arrogance and hatred and condescending tone, and I want you to wrap that in a badge and put a gun behind it. Let me pull that up here. And she wants to be famous. She put her name on it. So I'm going to share. I don't care if this is her name. She wants to be famous, and I'm going to help make her famous. Dear uppity, mouthy, and criminal Chicago travelers in Texas. If you get snotty with our Texas DPS, we will pull you the F out of your car and place you under arrest. That's exactly what we pay them for. And if I see that go down, I will back up the officer every time. Do what you're told and STFU. Shut the F up. You're incredibly lucky you didn't get tased or your head blown off. Just because you decided to kill yourself later does not make you anything other than a menace to society. And so clearly illustrated by the dash cam video, hashtag police lives matter. Dear uppity and mouthy. That is, uppity and mouthy, menace to society, and criminal. And I don't want that Confederate flag that was flying in the background. I don't want that to fool you and make you think that this is a Southern phenomenon, because I was just driving to drop off my wife this morning and I saw Confederate flags flying here in Boston, right? This is not a Southern thing. This is an American thing. When a person of color, when a woman, let's be real, when anyone, here it is, anyone who the officer or that man thinks should be subservient to them, anytime someone talks back, does not acquiesce, or is not subservient, is not kowtowing, is not fearful and timid to a police officer that has an ego problem and a Napoleon complex, that is when you see police officers escalate out of the, just go from 0 to 100. That is what you saw in the video with Sandra Bland. You saw that police officer go from 0 to 100 because she dare question his authority. Why does she have to put out her cigarette? There's no law saying that she has to put out a cigarette. Why don't you just give me my ticket and give me my warning and let me go? But no, she had the nerve to talk back to a police officer. And he lost his cool because how dare this woman talk back to me? How dare this black person talk back to me? And this Heather, this lady on Facebook, she doesn't realize what she did, but she clearly and plain made it plain. Dear uppity, what are we uppity because we don't take down to abuse of power? Here's the thing. Who is allowed to challenge the abuse of power? Who's allowed to challenge the overreach of authority? Who's allowed? Are we not allowed because what? Because she was a woman? Was Sandra Bland not allowed to challenge that man's abuse of power because she was a woman? Or was it because she was black? Or was it because she was a black woman? Who's allowed? I tell you who's allowed. For one thing's for damn sure, white conservative men are allowed to. You see it all the time. Just Google angry white man confronts cop, and you will see the cops being subservient. You will see the cops apologizing. You will see the cops stuttering out of fear. They would be like, I'm sorry to bother you, but could you put your AK-47 down? Well, not literally AK-47, but can you put your assault rifle down? You know, can we, I'm sorry, sir, can we talk to you for a minute? You know, that are they the only people in America who are allowed to challenge systemic oppression or allowed to challenge the perceived oppression? Are they the only ones who can talk back? Why? Tell me something, Heather. You want to be famous? We're gonna post this on all the pages I own. I own a lot of pages. I'll share this with about 700,000 people. Tell me something, Heather. Why is it that Sandra Bland is uppity? Can you not see? No, she can't. I don't even know. Some people are not worth a decent conversation. I've got a lot of patience and I put up with a lot of stuff. I listen. I like to reason with people. But once I realize we're not dealing with reasonable people, then they can just go to hell. There's no conversation to be had. Because if you look at that video with Sandra Bland and say that and take away anything other than this police officer unnecessarily escalated a situation that did not need to be escalated. If you take anything other than that from that video, then you're not worthy of a decent conversation because you're an imbecile, because you're not working with all your mental capacity is lower than what is deserving of a conversation, at least with me. The rest of you, maybe you guys can go and entertain this broad. Oh goodness, I was going to try my best not to use misogynistic language, but it's hard. But when I deal with stupid, it brings out the ignorant in me. So that's why I can't deal with the blatant racism that is in front of us every single damn day. And since Sandra Bland, how many women have died in custody? I mean, 5, I believe 5 this year alone. You think, I'm telling you, it starts in the black community, but it's going to hit every community. There have been more people killed by the police in 2015, and we're only 7 months in, than in the last 115 years, of Britain, of the British police. That should tell you that there is a cultural problem in the United States with our policing agencies. There is either you believe that there's just something wrong with us Americans, that we're uncivilized, that we're just barbaric on average, right? I mean, I know we got some assholes. I know we got some barbarians. I know we got some animals. There are some out there, but either you believe that Americans is the problem is the fact that we're American, or there's something wrong with the American police agencies. And when you're quiet, when it happens in communities of color, then you are allowing it to happen in your community, and you just don't even realize it yet. I'm going to take a break so I can dial it down a little bit, because I don't want the angry rage monster to come out of me and I just start cussing and be incoherent. I like to try to be intelligent, but stupid brings out the stupid in me. This is the Benjamin Dixon Show. We'll be back after this break.
When you're ready to lose weight, why count, track, and worry over every meal? Jenny Craig makes it simple. Just walk into a neighborhood Jenny Craig center or give us a call. You'll meet your dedicated personal consultant who helps you reach your goals. Together, you'll pick out delicious Jenny Craig foods that you'll love and design a menu that fits your life. And the best part is that you can get started losing weight right away. Don't wait any longer to take advantage of our best offer ever. Call 1-800-JENNY20 or visit jennycraig.com.
This is the sound of salmonella gyrating on your undercooked chicken. And it looks like Mom might be taking it out a little early. Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. So use a thermometer to cook each type of meat to the right temperature. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
On the next episode of Recipes for Disaster.
I'm making beef sliders for my friend Sandy. Nana taught me to always pull meat off the grill early so it's extra juicy.
Use a food thermometer to ensure ground beef is 160 degrees, or you could make people really sick. Sandy didn't think twice about the slider she ate until yoga class, when a nasty case of food poisoning turned her downward-facing dog into upward-moving lunch. Watch Recipes for Disaster at foodsafety.gov and learn the steps Maria unwittingly leaves out. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. Warm fleece on a cool day.
I want to be a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
Welcome back. Yeah, man, listen, when I, a lot of people comment often that I'm too patient, and I'm intentionally patient because it's like it's the yin and the yang. It's like a switch, man. I will lose it on ignorance. Ignorance brings out ignorance in me, and I try my best, folks, to not be to not devolve into the I don't use the word animal because that's what they use towards us, into the rage monster that lies underneath. And then because then I start losing the vocabulary, the verboseness that I like to operate in, because I like to communicate, right? I like to be able to convey a thought without flipping my lid. But when I see something as ignorant as that post from the Heather woman, and I know she's just, don't get me wrong, I know she's just one person on social media, but you have to understand that exact spirit that she conveyed, the fact that she saw Sandra Bland as uppity, mouthy, and criminal for simply challenging, not even challenging, but communicating her disgust with an officer who asked her what's wrong. The officer asked Sandra, what's wrong? You look irritated. Sandra replied, well, yeah, I am irritated because you pulled me over for no reason. But that's not going to stop you from giving me the ticket. So why don't you give me the ticket and let me go? That's uppity. That's mouthing. That's criminal. But the reason I highlight this woman, I won't call her a broad again, because that's just the anger reducing me to my lowest common denominator. And I won't apologize for saying it. I would just apologize for not being my verbose self that I normally am. Right. Thankfully, I didn't call her the other B word. But the language that she used, wrapped that inside of the ego of a man who's never had power, never had authority, isn't important at home, isn't important. He's a rookie on the job, so he gets no respect at the job, gets no respect at home. He's just got, wrap that exact phrase, uppity, mouthy, wrap that inside of a man being challenged by a woman and put a gun and a badge behind him. And that's exactly how you get the escalation from 0 to 100. I want to read a tweet here by my girl, my friend, my road dog. She's always on my show, April Rain. She says, shout out to all the white folks who are outraged about a dead lion, but think Black Lives Matter is going too far with our protest and whatnot. Yeah, Shout out to I couldn't have said it any better. And I was going, I think I still will address that lion issue, right? Because that actually made me, that infuriates me on a level. That's another one of those things that can take me from 0 to 100 when I see the face of true barbarism, right? When I see people who can take the life of these magnificent animals and think that they're triumphant or they're heroic, that bothers me on a level that infuriates me. But if you can see the problem and you're angered by what happened in that, what we're talking about, the dentist who went over to Africa and killed one of the most famous lions over there in their national park. That's what I'm talking about. But if that outrages you, and what is happening in the Black community doesn't, I'm not telling you that you have to drop your outrage for that cause, because I'm not. That infuriates me. I've talked about it on my show before, big game hunting. I talked about it on my show before, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more today. I would talk about it in the future. That infuriates me. So you don't have to drop that to recognize and be angry about something else, another injustice that's happening. But April put it best. Like, I mean, if that angers you, then and this doesn't, in the life of human beings, Sam Dubose, and I guess that's the thing. Maybe people think that on some level that these people still earned their own personal execution. You know, I think that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who are always able to rationalize police behavior, no matter how terrible that behavior is. They're able to rationalize it because they see minorities, Blacks, and Hispanics as the barbarians. And somehow, some way, I've got to transition from this, because it hurts you in a place. The reality of it hurts you in a place, but the way the cards are stacked against us, and you don't understand, man, this is going to affect and hurt every single one of us. But right now, it is killing us. And people want me to turn away because Mike Brown wasn't an angel. But I know Darren Wilson's. I know that personality. I know it well. I know people with Napoleon complexes. I know it well. Don't ask me how I know. I just know. I know people with ego problems. And I recognize that when you have not had authority, when you have not had power, when you can't get respect on your job and you can't get respect at home, then you are going to find a victim that you can express all of that latent frustration and anger against. And that is exactly why Darren Wilson rolled up on Michael Brown. I don't care if he was a thug. I don't care if he was a criminal. I don't care if he had just robbed the store and Darren Wilson didn't even know about it. I don't care about all those things. What I care about is the fact that Darren Wilson rolled up on Mike Brown, and the first thing he said is, "Get the F out the street." There are words, anybody that's an adult knows that there are certain phrases, certain questions, certain words that you could say to another human being and instantly create a confrontation. And when you have the badge, when you have the gun and you have the authority, you should be responsible for anything that transpires after you escalated. You should be responsible. That officer who pulled Sandra Bland out of the car, he is 100% responsible for her death, no matter how she died. No matter how she died, whether she killed herself or whether somebody came in there and killed her, that officer that pulled her out of the car is responsible because he created the cantankerous environment. He created the confrontation. He created the entire problem. And he is the only one in that situation that is charged with being the protector And the servant, I kind of got stuck in my sentence there. He's the one who is there to protect and serve. He's the one who's deputized to be an agent of the law. And yet he's the one who was childish, who was little, who was a small man with a big gun. He was the one that created the problem. And so since he escalated it, when he was the one who should have been de-escalating. I was talking to a friend my friend gets on my nerves because he's in the policing apparatus. And so he always defaults over there to on the side of the police, right? But he in this case, he said, you know what? Police are constantly trained to de-escalate. They are trained to be able to use language rhetorically to de-escalate a situation, right? And I know that tactic too, right? You have to be able to know, your words can cause someone to get into a rage, and your words can bring it down. And that officer intentionally escalated that situation because how dare this uppity, this sedity and mouthy woman talk back to me? Or how dare, not even talk back, man. How dare she even not be happy with the fact that I stopped her? That's what he was looking for. He was like, you're not happy that I stopped you? You look irritated. I got to get off this, man. I am going to get off of it because it's not going to ruin my day. I internalize this. When I see injustices, I internalize it. And then I have to go write an article about it so I can get it out of my system. All right. I'm going to shift gears here. I don't even know where I'm going to go. You guys can join the conversation. 857-600-0518. We'll keep our eye out for the video being released, and Sam with the University of Cincinnati Police and Sam Dubose. And I do want to talk about another aspect of Sandra Bland, and I think this will help me come out. This will help me get out of it. Okay, I'm just looking at a video feed here, just keep an eye out to see if it breaks while we're on the air so I can play it for you first. But no, it's not out yet. Here's another aspect about the Sandra Bland case that will help me resurrect myself out of this this pit of anger. And again, you can call me an angry black man all day long. I will absolutely own that because I have plenty of reasons to be angry. And you don't own the monopoly on anger. Anger is a very useful emotion. Anger is one of those few things that moves you out of apathy, that will get you off your butt and actually make you go do something about it. Anger is that, I think that's one of the only emotions that actually do that. And so by them trying to, they try to neutralize you by labeling you an angry woman or an angry man or an angry black man. They try to make you afraid of that title because, that's supposed to be a bad thing, to be angry. But do you realize how angry they are all of the time? How they consistently have to stir up anger on in conservative circles. They have to consistently stir up fear and anger so that they can get their voters to the polls on a regular basis. Anger is a useful tool. So don't ever let somebody make you ashamed of being angry. What they're trying to do is neutralize you and keep you from moving into action, because anger is one of the few emotions that can kick anyone out of apathy and into action. That's for free. I won't charge you guys for that one. But I want to talk about the video that was released yesterday of Sandra Bland doing her mugshot. I think it's important that those of us who are progressive, liberal, or left-leaning, or activists, or just on the right side of history, I think it's important for us to be better than they are, because our ideology and our beliefs are better than they are theirs. Our beliefs are better than theirs. That's why I did not run with the story of Sandra Bland being dead when they took the mugshot. I didn't run with it because I had no other source to confirm it. All I had was a Facebook post. And I'm not going to chase conspiracy theories ever. I'm not going to chase after. Now, don't get me wrong. Considering the history of the United States and the policing agencies in the United States, that is completely within the realm of possibilities. And that's a sad statement enough in and of itself, that it is possible for this to have happened in the United States of America, because it's not without precedent. It's not as if the policing agencies were not an extension of the Klan in the past. So I'm not saying that people were crazy for even considering it. What I'm saying is that it was irresponsible for a lot of people to run with that story when they had no other sources to confirm other than someone's conspiracy theory. And so now the video has come out showing that Sandra Bland was alive when she took the video. And I saw some people say, well, it was a stunt double. Okay, come on. You guys are losing it now. Come on. Let's lay that one to rest. She was alive when she took that picture. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that could have happened, but they released the video and you can see her, height, you can see that was Sandra Bland when she took the picture. I mentioned this only because we have to be better. We cannot use the same methods. We cannot use the same conspiracy theory tactics. We cannot use lies and innuendo. We need to verify our sources. Because here's the thing. We don't have to lie. The truth is damning enough. There's nothing that we have to create. There's no story that we have to fabricate. The fact that Sandra Bland was in that jail in the first place is infuriating enough for us to not have to alter anything, for us to not have to have a conspiracy theory. We don't, is it possible that she was killed in jail? Yes, that is still within the very realistic realm of possibility. But was she dead when she took the mugshot? No. But it's, again, I'm only mentioning this because it's very important that we, as we are smarter. Let's just put it out there. We are smarter than the average conservative. Let's just put it out there. There are some great conservative minds. I would love to run into them. I would love to challenge them. But the William F. Buckleys are dead. You know what I mean? The Barry Goldwaters are dead. I would love to actually challenge somebody who was a brilliant conservative mind. I mean, if Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly is the best that you have to offer, then I am confident in saying that we are smarter than the average conservative. So there's no need for us to chase and operate in the same method and the madness that they do. There's no need for us to tweet out and to spread and write articles about conspiracy theories. We only need to operate in the truth because the truth is damning enough. With that said, when I come back, I want to deal with a few more things. I want to get your calls, 857-600-0518. We'll deal with a couple other issues. And I'm going to shift gears a hard shift. I want to talk about Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. We'll be back after this break.
You're tuned into the Benjamin Dixon Show. Join the conversation, 857-600-0518.
Looking for the right business opportunity? Need the right product? The right marketing plan, and the absolute best training in the world? Well, look no further. The Elite Team. Every leader in time excels. They believe the key ingredients in becoming successful in life and in business are just a keystroke away. Go to www.eliteteamsite.com. That's www.eliteteamsite.com. The Elite Team has a system in place that will move you closer to achieving your goals and dreams. Visit www.eliteteamsite.com or TonyFlemingEnterprises.com today.
College is important, but it can also be expensive. College Planning Services is a group of educators, administrators, counselors, and other licensed professionals that work together to provide the necessary services, networks, and information to reach students that are serious about getting a college education. College Planning Services partners with financial institutions, corporate sponsors, and other major players in the global market to strategize in building a pool of information regarding financial aid, scholarships, and funding information to assist students in preparing to access the essential resources to build upon their path to an educational future. Learn more at collegeplanningtoday.com and let us help you start your college career.
Do you want to take your business to the next level? Ultimate Business Solutions provides the support you need to increase your customer base and sell more products and services online. Specializing in graphic arts, web development, and internet marketing, Ultimate Business Solutions creates the face of your business. If you're looking for a custom logo, dynamic website, or popping marketing material, Call Ultimate Business Solutions today at 404-704-2197 or visit www.ultimatebizsolutions.com. Ultimate Business Solutions. Let us create your future.
Do you have tax issues, owe back taxes, or need tax relief? Contact L&B Tax Service today. L&B offers you over 15 years of expertise and first-class tax service for individuals, professionals, and business owners. With nationwide service, you can easily find a location near you. Contact one of our tax professionals through our website, lbtaxservice.com. That's www.lbtaxservice.com. L&B Tax Service Incorporated. Tax professionals that you can trust.
You've tuned in to the Benjamin Dixon Show.
All right. Oh, I love that music coming back. All right, folks. So I'm gonna listen. I don't promote myself often. I just do the show. And I'm not good at self-promotion because I don't know. I just rather would do the show. I'm just kind of, false humility maybe. But anyway, I wrote a book, and I wrote it a long time ago, and I don't think I've ever mentioned it on the air, but I'm going to mention it here. The book was called "God Is Not a Republican," and one of the things that I deal with better than anybody else in the game. I don't care who they are. My intersection of faith and justice, not even that. Let me make it more plain. The evangelical Christian marriage to the Republican Party, which is really the bane of so many of our existence. It's the root of so many of the social problems that we still have in the United States of America, is because the evangelical church, evangelical Christians got in bed with the Republican Party circa 1978, 79. And they are the reason that Ronald Reagan got elected. And it is well, what I outline in the book is I outline the negative effects, but also the logical fallacies, just the fact that it has not worked for either part, for either the Republicans or the Christians. And it is just a futile effort. And it is the Republican Party manipulating Christians to get their vote. Now, I'm only mentioning this because I'm going to give away some of the books. And I want you to go to facebook.com/The Benjamin Dixon Show. There's a big tab there that says contact us. I want you to just give us, fill that out. Tell us something. I don't know. Just give us your information, and we will put those names into a hat, a digital hat, obviously, and we will draw out a weekly winner, and I will give out a copy of the book. It's a great book. I'm going to write a second edition. I just don't have time to write the second edition right now because I'm writing for everything else and everybody else. But it's important. You will notice the resurgence of the culture warfare as we get closer to 2016, because the Republican Party is very good at doing one thing and one thing only. Well, two things. They're great at propaganda, but they're also great at using religious issues to get Christian voters to the polls and then deliver on nothing. They can't deliver on gay marriage. They won't deliver on, because they can't deliver on it. They won't deliver on repealing Roe versus Wade, because that's not going to be repealed. So they're making empty promises. So I kind of destroy that marriage in this book, and you can get it on Amazon if you want to get it on Amazon, or you can go to facebook.com/The Benjamin Dixon Show, click on the contact us tab, and just enter your name, and we'll enter you. You might get the book for free, but I'm going to give one away every week. Also, we want you to follow us on Twitter at the BPD Show. And we want you to subscribe on YouTube. Everyone who's watching on YouTube right now, make sure that you click the like, the share, and subscribe button, and to help us grow this platform so that I don't have to work from 5 a.m. to midnight every single day for the rest of my life. If I'm giving you this good stuff, then, just help spread the word. That way I can continue giving it to you. All right, now I'm going to do a shift here. I want to talk about Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and the election. And this is something that I think is very important for many reasons. Number one, well, first, let me tell you what I'm talking about. I'm going to put up on the screen here a poll by the Huffington Post. And I will describe it to the people listening in the radio audience. Hillary Clinton, amongst Democratic and progressive activists, Hillary Clinton leads the bunch by 54%, and Bernie Sanders is not too far behind by 37%, and then everyone else is like what 1, 2, 3% at best. The article by the Huffington Post essentially stated that activists love Bernie Sanders, they just don't think he can win. And I kind of understand. I understand that idea, because when back around July 4th this year, just 3-4 weeks ago, I had a conversation with my brother who is who likes Bernie Sanders, and he likes Bernie Sanders for the same reason I like Bernie Sanders, but I couldn't bring myself to support Bernie Sanders because I didn't think he can win. And that speaks volumes about the nature of our system. I think most progressives and most liberals and most people who just want to see the nation move forward instead of backwards towards the Gilded Age, I think we like what Bernie Sanders stands for and what he can do, but our system is such where the odds are stacked against him, because we have been beat down for so long. For the last 35 years, we have been made fearful of anything that is not right of center, just right of center. We are so afraid of talking about social programs. We are terrified of talking about progressive tax codes. We're terrified of talking about equality, wage equality. We're terrified. Well, not, we'll talk about wage equality, but what I'm saying, wealth disparity in the United States of America. We're terrified of talking about those things, and we have been for so long. And finally, we're getting to a stage in the national discourse where we're no longer letting them make us be afraid of being labeled socialist, because one, they don't even know what the hell a socialist actually is. All right, let's just put that out there. Next time someone calls you a socialist or a communist, ask them to define socialism and how is it uniquely different than communism. If they can't do that, then they shouldn't be using the word, right? That's the way you end that conversation. But just like I said earlier in the second segment, they try to make us fearful of being angry because that is a way of controlling us, because they know how effective anger is to mobilize and to get people out of apathy. And so they try to label you something to neutralize you. And so they've labeled us socialist to neutralize us, when in actuality, America has had a healthy relationship with socialism all throughout American history, right? At our best times, we were what everyone would say more socialist, when really we're just engaging in Keynesian economics, but that's okay. But we have been so afraid leading up, I would say between 2000 and 2010, for 10 years, we were utterly terrified of being called socialist and communist, such that all of our leaders began shifting further and further and further to the right. Now, the shift started in 1981, but I'm just looking at a snapshot between the hard propaganda that came out in 2000 all the way to 2010. And just now, in 2000, and what year is this? 2015. Just now, in the last 2 or 3 years, we have shifted away from being timid with regard to economic policies that are not laissez-faire capitalist trickle down. We're no longer timid about opposing those. We're finally becoming full-throated activists for progressive economic policies, which have historically been better for our nation. Now, there's one person who didn't care over the last 30 years what people labeled him. He believed in these economic policies. Hell or high water, call him a socialist, that's fine. He's a social democrat. Whatever you labeled him, Bernie Sanders did not care. And so he stood by his economic and social principles throughout this entire period where the rest of us, you and me included, were timid about and fearful of someone calling us a communist when they didn't even know what the hell a communist was. Bernie Sanders didn't care. I say that not so much to say, rah, rah, sis, boom, bye, go, Bernie Sanders, go. I say that to say, isn't it time for our system to actually have a conversation between two opposing ideas rather than having a conversation between the opposite side of the same coin? We know Bernie Sanders is better, but we're still timid into thinking that we can't convince the rest of America that Bernie Sanders is better. That's what that Huffington our Post article is saying, is that we love him, but we don't think he can win. Well, you know what? If he can't win, it's because we haven't done our job to show America the history of economic policy and show them that when we did good, it was because of progressive policies, economic policies. When we bottomed out, it was always at the end, at the tail end of Republican leadership and laissez-faire capitalism. As close to laissez-faire capitalism as we can, actually tolerate in America. The Gilded Age, the end of the Roaring '20s, leaning into the Great Depression. We came directly out of republicanism and policies that bottomed out and bankrupted the United States of America. The recession of 2009, directly on the heels of all of the deregulation, the tax cuts, and all of the same type of principles that continuously put us in a bad place. And then we have to elect a moderate, progressive. I like Barack Obama. Don't attack me about Barack. He's done as much as he could get away with. And I think that's what I'm going to leave you with this. And when I say get away with, I say what I mean by get away with, so no one takes a soundbite. Get away with is that he's done the only thing that the Congress was willing to go with him on. He can't do it alone. But here's what I want to leave you with. If we start that sentence over, it is up to us, the average Joe. It's up to us, the average office conversation, talking to your coworker sitting next to you. It's up to us to talk to our friends and our cousins. It's up to us to actually learn and be able to communicate the effectiveness of the policies, the economic policies that Bernie Sanders has been communicating for the last 30 years. He has never backed away from it. He was not afraid when the rest of us were afraid, but he can't win if we are still afraid of being called a socialist. He can't win if we're still afraid of being called communist by people who don't even know what that word actually means. He can't win if we are fearful. So we have to be the advocates, or else we are going to get stuck with a middle of the road, bland, blue dog Democrat who is not going to undo all of the damage that has been done to our nation over the last 30 years. Our leaders, our elected officials are only capable of doing what the general population gives consensus for because they're fearful of polls. They are going to respond to polls because they know that next election come around that they can lose. So you have to understand, we can move, we can determine the national discourse. And it's time for us to stop being timid and being fearful of being labeled angry, fearful of being labeled socialist, fearful of being labeled communist by a bunch of Neanderthals that couldn't define it if they had Google in front of them. It's time for us to stop being so afraid and to start standing up for the things that we know are better. And I wonder if all of you listening realize that the economic policies of progressives has been historically better every single time. So it's not good enough to just like Bernie and think that he can't win. You got to go out there and convince people that his ideas are better, not because we think they're better, but because historically, it is historically proven and demonstrated that those ideas perform better for the average American. And that, my friends, is the end of the show. Remember to go to facebook.com/The Benjamin Dixon Show. Click on the tab that says Contact Us and enter to win your free copy of my book, which is a great book, right? I guess I would say that myself. But a lot of people have bought it, and I've gotten some rave reviews. Some publishers have read it and they loved it. It's just, there's a big difference between loving a book and publishing the book, but we have the books and we will send you a copy, blah, 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 blah. I'm done, folks. You guys have a great day.
And until that moment comes, when we, the Americans, are able to accept the fact that on that continent we are trying to forge a new identity for which we need each other, that I am not a ward of America. I am one of the people who built the country. Until this moment.
That we are brothers. It's not a question of Jews or Christians or Muslims. We're all in the same boat.
We need each other.
Love is a condition so powerful. It may be that which holds the stars in the firmament.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
I come to you today to say that we can build a newer and better nation. I say we can do so, that we must do so, and that we will do so.
You've tuned in to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at www.thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Hey, YouTube, since you guys are still here, I'm going to put out a challenge to libertarians and conservatives to call in and debate me. I mean, why not? It's fun. One, it's informative. Two, and it's time to start confronting these false ideas and these lies. So I'm going to just put that out there in general. I will take an extra 15 or 30 minutes after each show and debate any conservative and libertarian that wants to have at it on any topic that they want to debate on. Bring it, and it will be brought. You guys have a good day.